policies and power. From the halls of government.
You were there.
I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
It's 16 minutes past 9 a.m. and you are listening to Udala Radio 4.7 FM. Welcome to the Polity Friday edition. This 13th day of February 2026. It happens to be the penultimate day before Valentine's Day. Of course, Valentine's Day is marked on February 14th. Time to show love to people around you, show love to your friends, to your well-wishers, to your family, and to every other person you might come across, because when you talk about love, you talk about sacrifice. And today also happens to be World Radio Day, February 13, 2026. It's World Radio Day when we get to celebrate broadcasters and those who are in the art of bringing information on a daily basis. Of course, so today is our day, and we'll have our time to celebrate this very day. And there is a theme for this year's celebration, which we're going to bring away in the course of today's conversation. But we're glad to have you join us today on this very radio dial, this seriously authentic radio station, Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha. My name is Franklin Ebuka. I'm saying welcome once more to today's program. You can join us live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, on Instagram and YouTube at Udala Radio. And let me bring in the in-house analyst, Tony Olisambeki. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in Anambra. Good morning, in Onitsha. Good morning, in Dosimo. Good morning, in the Onitsha market and every other market in Anambra State, in Enugu State, in Imo State, in Abia State, in Ebonyi State, in the entire South, West, and also even in North geopolitical zone, North Central, Northwest, and also North East, and even beyond Nigeria, because we know very well there are brothers who do join us from different parts of the continent. There are those in Italy, there are those in South Africa, there are those also in America, and we have those who are in Brazil, South America, and there's so many of them outside Nigerian shores. So we appreciate all of them, and we thank God for this very day, today being Friday the 13th day in the month of February, the year 2026. You talked about Valentine, and tomorrow being the 14th. I don't know why that very day is very popular. I don't know. But ordinarily we have many saints, and then remember there are 3 Valentines, as we know very well. But I know Ndo Wanande, Nonimia, you know what they can always come up with. But that's by the way. We are going to look at different political developments and things that we should also share thoughts on, and then look at them from different perspectives, from disparate dispositions, and try as much as we can to do justice to that. You are welcome, and sit back and enjoy the program.
Okay, so as you sit back to enjoy the program, just to let you know that there are a couple of things in the news this very morning. The National Assembly is still in the news because we gather that efforts are being made to ensure that the Electoral Act Amendment Bill is harmonized by Monday. And away from that, of course, it's in the news that the governor of River State, Fubara Simi, has fired his commissioners, or let's use the word that he has dissolved his cabinet, and asked everyone to, hand over to the most senior person in their ministry. People are saying perhaps this could be one of the conditions given to him in the reconciliation, which was midwife by the president. Then in the news too is former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai. Of course, the attempt by the EFCC to arrest him yesterday on his way back to Nigeria from Cairo, Egypt, has sparked a controversy. A day before, he had alleged that there was a plan to arrest him by the time he gets to the country. And that yesterday, that attempt was made, and his international passport was confiscated. But his lawyer has gone to issue a statement trying to clarify what brought about that very attempt to arrest him. Then away from that too, workers and the people who are in the sector of wine distillation, of course, yesterday they besieged the office of NAFDAC in Lagos over this enforcement of the ban on sale of alcohol in sachet and PET bottles. I don't know what is going on there. 2 days ago, it was a news story that the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation has given NAFDAC directive to halt any enforcement. That same day, NAFDAC said there was no official directive that you should halt the enforcement. And since then, distillers have been kicking because NAFDAC began that very enforcement by going to seal some factories and what have you not. So that is also in the news. They talk about INEC presentation of budget for 2027 general election. A whooping 873 billion naira, close to 1 trillion naira for the election. And aside this, INEC also has a budget for 2026. All these things you can see on the pages of newspapers today. They are making headlines, okay? So by the time we look at the papers, we'll see which are contained there and which is going to make our discussions today. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 9:22 a.m. and we have to look at the headlines we have on the papers now. We're beginning with the Daily Sun newspaper, which is known as the Voice of the Nation. One of the headlines here says INEC has no control over network infrastructure for transmission of results. Mopito, he said that yesterday when he appeared before Senate committee during his budget presentation. The another story says Dangote refinery's production expansion will push naira below 1,000 naira per dollar before year end. $10. The story is on page 25. I don't know. There seems to be this very fine love between Dangote and the Femi $10 ever since Dangote floated the refinery. We have seen $10 trying to support him in this very business. By the way, $10 is also a well-known businessman. Then another story we can look at on the front page of the Daily Sun says Bishop Kuka cries out, says criminals soliciting money in his name. Innocent persons parted with millions of naira. Another story says United Nigeria Airlines unveils expansion plans. That's the picture story on the front page of Daily Sun. In fact, you can see the picture of the CEO, Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, and the other people who are flanked in that very story. Why I didn't honor EFCC invite El Rufai. That story is on page 8 of Daily Sun newspaper. Labour Party crisis gets messier as party chair. NLC demand Abure's rearrest. The story is on page 8 of Daily Sun newspaper. Then come to think of it, I think a court has ruled that the tenure of Abure has expired as chairman of Labour Party, or rather, yes, chairman of Labour Party, and told INEC to recognize Nadi Osman. And Nadi Osman went to, take over the secretariat, and Abure is still parading himself as the national chairman of this very party, claiming, laying claim to the national secretariat. If we're actually in a lawful country, what will stop the police from arresting him? If we are in a lawful country. Then another story says Igbo youths applaud Carlos' advocacy for electronic transmission of election results. That's the last story we have on the front page of Daily Sun newspaper, and we have to cross over to the next one to see the headlines we have on Punch newspaper. Beside the nameplate of Punch newspaper, the headline here says U.S. sanctions. China pushes back as FG targets foreign illegal miners. That story is on page 2. NAS to harmonize electoral bill Monday. The story is on page 2 with a rider. Senate. Reps version of bill face final reconciliation. Real-time result transmission not same as e-voting, says Senate. Another headline says vandalism causing flooding on Lagos Calabar Highway Omahe. That story can be found on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Blackout fears grow over gas plant maintenance is on page 23. El Rufai sparks controversy after airport arrest drama. Page 42 of the Punch. Police hunt abductors of 12-year-old Oyo school girl. That story is on page 4. Fubara fires commissioners. Assembly awaits new list. That story is on page 42. And above the nameplate, Jonathan floats 50-year age cap for African president. The story is on page 7. There was an event yesterday which was done in honor of former military head of state in Nigeria, Murtala Muhammad. That was where Jonathan, made that very call that there should be a cap for people. Okay, there should be a cap that people who are going to lead in Africa should be within the age bracket of 50 years. And that story says INEC seeks nearly 1 trillion naira for 2027 elections. That story is on page 10. And that story says 2027 Atiku Fayoshe clash over Makinde's Mina visit. That story is on page 7. If you have time, you can look at it. Because after that visit by Atiku to the house of Babangida in Mina, we also know that the governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, also visited that same day. And the Fayoshe has floated this very theory that he was privy to, or rather he knew what actually happened. And he said that Sheyi Makinde was planning to be a running mate to Atiku, and he has pledged to fund the campaign with about 10 billion and what have you. Plenty of things that he said, but Atiku has said that there's no element of truth in what Fayoshe said. Then we leave the Punch newspaper to look at the headlines we have on Guardian. On Guardian, Mauritania at 50, African leaders trade blames over continent woes. Gerontocracy, the story is on page 3. OPEX, taxes take over 90% of NMPCL 60.5 trillion naira 2025 revenue as Otedola predicts naira rebound. Another story we have on the front page of the Guardian says, we must outgrow disregard for rule of law, El Rufai says after attempted arrest. That story can be found on page 3. National Assembly tightens grip on public finances amid 2027 election funding debate. That story can be found on page 6. Kaizen, a Japanese lesson in excellence, productivity for sluggish giant. That story can be found on pages 4 and 5 of Guardian newspaper. Senate, real-time result transmission does not translate to e-voting. That story is on page 6. Okonkwo, lack of transit facilities undermining Nigerian airlines potential. You can see the story on page 25 of Guardian newspaper. Another headline says 4,521 megawatt shortfall in nationwide power supply as gas facility undergoes repair. That story can be found on page 7. And with that, we bring to an end the headlines we have on the front page of Guardian. And the last headline, or rather, the last paper we have this morning is Vanguard. And we'll look at the stories. 50 years after Murtala Muhammad, my father treated corruption as emergency, not talking point. Aisha Muhammad Oyebode, that's the daughter of Murtala Muhammad. And that story has plenty of writers. You can see the story on pages 12 and 15 of Vanguard newspaper. Power outage looms amid shadow power plant maintenance. That story is on page 19, and that explains why EDC yesterday issued a statement talking about load management that they are going to have. In fact, they mentioned some areas where supply could be affected because of the maintenance that the power plant is going to undergo. ADC should consider Southerner for 2027 presidency. The story is on page 34. Amici is the one saying so. U.S. accuses Chinese miners of funding terrorists in Nigeria. The story is on page 6. China embassy debunks allegation. That's the rider to that very story. In X6, 873 billion naira for 2027 polls. Proposes 171 billion naira 2026 budget. You can see the story on page 5. This one says security agents attempt to arrest El Rufai at Abuja airport. Page 34. Workers lay siege to NAFDAC office over sachet alcohol ban enforcement. That story is on page 7. Malami George recused self. Returns case file to CJ for reassignment. It's on page 9. And the last story says why we are tackling auto crashes in Lagos. Sonwolu. That story is on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. And now it will be for us to begin the analysis. Stay with us. Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and you are listening to the Polity. My name is Franklin Ebukanda. I'm with Tony Olisambeki this very morning. So for us to begin the analysis proper, so Tony, today is our day, World Radio Day, proclaimed in 2011 by UNESCO member state and adopted by United Nations Assembly in 2012. And I must tell you that World Radio Day is celebrated today, being February 13 every year. And it's a day to thank broadcasters for the news they deliver, the voices they amplify, and the stories they share. And this very year, there is a theme for this year's celebration. It's all about, radio and AI. And they're saying radio and artificial intelligence. AI is a tool, not a voice. And this has sparked conversation because we are now seeing AI taking place or having an encroachment into broadcasting and into radio. In fact, some things are done with AI these days. But they are saying, can AI actually, take over? Can AI create the emotion that humans create? Why don't on radio? So, Tony, World Radio Day, what does it signify for us who are the radio broadcasters?
Well, it is a day to look back and appreciate the kind of service we give to humanity. We have classified the kind of service we give to humanity, to mankind, as one of the essential services. Without information, society is deformed. Remember, ignorance can cause anything. It can cause the worst disaster on earth. Ignorance can cause even death. Ignorance can cause anything. And where you live in a spectrum, in a space where ignorance fills such space, what it means is that you don't even know you're left or you're right. And it applies to every human endeavor. If you're ignorant about certain things about health, what it means that you're going to die off. If you're ignorant about certain skills, you are not going to be equipped. If you're ignorant about even law, it is never an excuse. If you're ignorant about recent developments, you'll be taken aback. So it is one of the greatest gifts God gave to mankind by ensuring the discovery of radio service. And we must appreciate those who have been, in one way, used by the Almighty to make this possible. And I'm aware very well that the first ever demonstrated radio wave was by German physicist Heinrich Hertz. That was sometime around 1887 and 1888 through a lab experiment providing electromagnetic waves, which he found out that it could also transmit and detect so many things wirelessly. Of course, you have electromagnetic spectrum for those who study physics. And in that spectrum, you've got a number of things like the radio wave, the X-ray, the ultraviolet ray, the microwave. There are so many of them. These are within that very spectrum. And we are talking about the first practical maybe exercise to that effect, apart from the discovery made by Heinrich, a German physicist, and we've seen how that has played a role to shape humanity, mankind, as we speak today. And it has played a lot of role, radio, for instance, in shaping the world, either through disaster or through peace. And we must also acknowledge Guglielmo Marconi, who was born in Italy. He was the first to display what we call a practical radio system. And just like I said earlier on, if you watch during the First World War, Second World War, the Great Depression, the Cold War, even the Titanic disaster that happened in 2012, it was through a radio message that about 700 people were saved. In fact, remember that disaster cost about 1,500 lives. It happened in 1912, Atlantic Ocean, Titanic disaster. So we know very well that even during the World War First, the one that started sometime around 1914 and ended in 1918, radio enabled faster military cooperation, naval communication, and government used it for propaganda and sense. There's so many things used. I'm not going to talk about the Second World War because we know much more about that one. I wouldn't also talk about even the Cold War era. But the key thing is radio has come to stay. For those who are practitioners, they need to be celebrated. They need to be appreciated. And of course, if you look at the theme for this year, World Radio Day, it's celebrated just like Franklin pointed out earlier on. We are talking about radio and artificial intelligence. And if you look at that theme, very apt, timely, because we are living in the world of artificial intelligence. And it's telling us that AI is a tool, not a voice. It cannot be that voice. But with AI, radio work has become more easier, better. You can use AI for a number of things. You can use AI to generate content. You can use AI for archiving, accessibility of features, and audience analytics. There are so many things you can use AI to do to predict quite a lot of things, to predict trends, to follow trends, to also have certain developments at your fingertips. And it can also help you in production-wise, to produce some of the jingles, to produce some of these features, to make radio pleasing to ear. AI is a tool, but it cannot be that voice. That's just the theme. And we must also commend the UNESCO. And also remember that issue of authenticity, editorial judgment, trust, warmth, community connection remains central to radio. And that is where humans comes in, because AI cannot give us that judgment we always be proud of. So in all of this, we can see how radio has shaped the world from time immemorial. Just like I said earlier on, even from the time of the German physicist Henrik to the time of Guglielmo Marconi, born in Bologna. And we have explained how these things have shaped the world. And I've said, in fact, radio can even cause one of the greatest disasters anywhere. We know the force of radio. It has this force. Remember, it was through telegraphy and telephony. Before you know it, that's how we got to where we are today. If you can recall what the role radio played during the Rwandan genocide, which killed about 800,000 people in 100 days, radio was used as a tool of hate and mobilization. It happened not quite long ago in 1994 between the Tutsis and Hutus. We know the story. So if you watch the movie Hotel Rwanda, it will tell you more. So that's to tell you radio can as well be used as a tool or as a platform for peace. And it can also be used as a platform for war. But we are going to choose peace. We are not going to choose war.
Okay, so looking at the theme, radio and artificial intelligence, AI is a tool, not a voice. If you go to some radio stations outside Nigeria, you will see how they have embraced AI, how they have ingrained AI in what they do. That even these days, I learned that AI is even used to do presentation. Without anybody being in the studio, AI does the presentation of news, sports, and what have you not. Even help to curate the sports production and what have you not. To what extent do you think that broadcasters in Nigeria have embraced AI in what they do, from what you have known of interactions you have with the professional colleagues?
Well, we would say that we have embraced AI. And any profession that hasn't embraced AI, that very profession is missing actually. Because AI has come to stay. It's really taking over. And there's this prediction that by 2050, AI will be performing surgery, AI will be doctors, nurses, and what have you. So, but just like we have said, there is a limit AI can do. Humans remain humans anytime. And I've said it many times, AI cannot fully replace human creativity. But we must embrace AI to better the service we give out to the people. Just like you pointed out earlier on, AI these days can be used to write scripts, generate news, and even do summaries, even produce jingles. But AI cannot capture life emotions, humor, that cultural nuance. But we know very well that even this jokey, you can use AI to get it, roll it out without any human being there. There could be a time AI may be talking to you. AI talks. It's all about something encoded in a program, and you allow it to do what humans do. It's generative. It is transforming. These things are trend. They reason like human, but they are not human. Of course, they have limitations. We are not going to talk much about AI. Probably, if anything takes us to talk about AI, we're going to do that. But just like I said, it cannot replace human creativity.
Now, do you think that AI is making us lazy? I mean, we broadcasters, especially radio broadcasters, for instance, sometimes I have seen situations whereby somebody was asked to do a feature story on a certain thing, and the person just goes to AI and downloads everything there verbatim and submits. And if you look at that very work, you can't see any form of originality. You cannot see any form of reality in that very story, because there's something about AI people haven't discovered. Sometimes AI does not give you that relevance and local flair, because like you said, AI is something that has been programmed to work like humans, but in most times when it's working, it was from a global perspective. But when you need that local flair, you might not be able to get it. So do you think that it's making us lazy, whereby people now depend, once you ask somebody, give me a feature story, give me a story, the person just go to AI, puts the question, downloads, and comes to give you?
When we talk about AI, it comes in different variations. There are AIs that can give you the human colorations in terms of appearance, in terms of voice, in terms of even emotion, in terms of conversation, and so many things. AI comes in not just only text-based AI. We have robotics. We have expert systems. These are part of AI. They come in different shapes. Just like I was saying the other day, when we are talking about those who were inciting fear in our people, for them to continue to sit at home, they use AI. And it will look like the person, but it's not a person. It will be used in such a way that the person appearance in every sense, voice tone, complexion, everything will be encoded and used to generate that image or the motion we are talking about. So you talk about the AI, as sometimes if we do not improve on your own path, you become lazy. I don't see AI as a tool that will put or make some of us lazy. Because the world itself is fast changing. I said earlier we're in the world of AI. But another thing that you also understand is that AI also is learned. For you to make use of AI, it is a skill on its own. And you must know the prompts and some requests and how to send those requests to give you the desired outcome. So we must also begin to learn AI and also begin deep research on how to train AI to even become even better. So if you want to be lazy, you remain lazy. I remember when issue of computing started, so many people were analog. Somebody who is analog is somebody who doesn't know much about computer works and computer services, which also involves internet and networks. So there are many analog people. They don't even know how to open a laptop and all that. But because of phone, if not for Android phone and Apple phones, as we have seen, many people will remain analog. So the issue is, if you allow AI to make you lazy, you become lazy. Because there are those who don't want to learn. There are those who don't want to research. There are those who do not want to dig. AI will help you to perfect your work. It's just like a carpenter doing his work at his workshop. And there are some tools. And I've seen modern carpentry tools. And these tools will make the furniture so made by the carpenter to look so good. But he cannot take the place of the carpenter himself. So he used these tools in a way and manner to make the product, that's the finished product, the furniture, to look amazingly good. And that's what AI does in the area of broadcasting and media, or even radio as we speak.
Okay, so before we wrap up on this very discussion, let's look at what radio has been able to achieve in Nigeria, and if there are gaps that need to be closed. Take, for instance, we know that radio remains a very vital democratic mass communication medium, which provides what we might call an unparalleled access to information, be it education, be it entertainment, enlightenment. In fact, radio can get to the remotest part of anywhere. That's the advantage it has, because it's ubiquitous, of course. Anywhere you are, even if with battery, you'll be able to receive radio signal and be able to get that very information. So it's expected that because radio has a wide reach and accessibility, and it has the ability to reach so many people, even in remotest part of the country or the world, do you think that radio in Nigeria has been able to meet expectation from people?
Well, if not for radio, quite a lot of things may be unknown. Radio has played its own role in Nigeria, there's no doubt, just as it has played in many parts of the world. And if you begin to count some of the things radio has achieved in Nigeria, time may not be enough for us to talk about all of them. But I know very well that radio pioneered modern mass communication in the country. In fact, the radio broadcasting began in Nigeria sometime around 1933 with the British Colonial Radio Diffusion Service. I think it was called RDX, as it were in Lagos. It was relaying BBC Empire service via wired loudspeakers in public spaces. Some of these loudspeakers were placed in public spaces. So it marked the start of organized mass media, evolving into the Nigerian Broadcasting Service, NBS, in 1951, and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, sometime around in 1957. Later, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria in 1978 or thereabouts. Okay, and all these laid foundation for Nigeria's entire broadcasting industry. Of course, we know that radio supported the independence struggle and nation building post 1960. When Nigeria was fighting for independence, radio was deployed as a tool for such conversation, the pressure put on the colonial masters. We saw how radio was used to inform and mobilize Nigerians during the push for independence, and also after independence. It educated citizens on national policies. It was used to promote civic awareness. It also was used to build a sense of shared identity, and also issue of nationalism. So in all of this, radio played very good role. But it also played a role during the Nigerian Civil War. You remember I said earlier on, it's just a sword with two sides, depending on how you want to use it. Because the federal radio and regional radio stations, these radios were very crucial during the war. I recall one of our own, Oko Kondem. I call him the master strategist, the propagandist par excellence. That's just Oko Kondem. And if not for radio, the war that war wouldn't have lasted 3 years. Radio was used to keep the federal forces at bay. Oko Kondem, in his stylistic broadcasted during those days, he will tell you that, in fact, it was through radio that the Biafran forces got to Ore, passed Ore, even, in fact, momentarily, even the Bini, in fact, approaching Lagos. You know, a lot of things played out during that period. But like I always say, it is used for good and also for the bad and for the ugly. But so far, so good. We are also using radio to communicate to you now as you listen to us. It's through radio. You get to know some of these developments, the analysis we do give here, and also to inform, to enlighten, to educate, and also to kill false narrations. One thing about social media is that you can say anything, but radio has editorial board in a way that issue of fake news, misinformation, some of these things are distilled. You can't distill some of these things on social media because social media is all commerce affair. But radio, you have trained journalists, those with the requisite skill, pushing out the narratives, but at the same time trying to cover areas ordinarily people may not see anything from. But that is one thing about radio. Whatever misinformation, disinformation, any of them, radio will distill it and give you the proper perspective to some of these things. And of course, radio is regulated.
Okay, so let's get to politics because yesterday evening we got to know that the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, he has dissolved his ESCO just 4 days after he met with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Minister of the FCT Nyesom Wike behind closed doors in Abuja. I think that meeting happened on Sunday. On Monday, we got to know about it. And two of them kept sealed lips until about 2 days ago. A week after he went for inspection of project, he spoke about it. In fact, he confirmed that there was a conversation between him, Fubara, and the president, saying the president intervened actually. That same day too, in Port Harcourt, during program inspection 2, Fubara also confirmed that he's now back to his orga. And now, the ESCO has been dissolved. Everybody was asked to hand over to the most senior person in their ministry. And people are trying to read meaning into it. They're saying, perhaps this is one of the conditions given to Fubara, or one of the requirements for peace to reign in Rivers State, so that the allies and supporters of Wike could be accommodated in the next cabinet that is going to be formed in preparation to the presentation of budget before the State House. So, Tony, how are you looking at this development in Rivers State?
Well, it's an aftermath of the discussion he had with Mr. President. And the truth is that they don't disclose some of these conditions to us. And we as spectators will always look at different developments, how they make certain decisions and how they make some statements, and we try to decipher, we try to make certain deductions, try to interpret. We have been postulating and at the same time analyzing these developments on our own. It was a closed-door meeting, as we were told, but it's not the first time, not the second time. But just like we said the last time we were here, that was the 5th time Mr. President intervened in all these madness, if I may call that, happening in River State. Issue of godfatherism, and I've said it many times, if not for 2027, nobody would want godfatherism to exist in any state in Nigeria. If you have somebody to ascend to power, leave the person to work. We saw this many years back. It started with that of Anambra State. It takes us to Oyo State during the time of Ladoja and Adelabo, and of course the federal force keep playing this role of supporting godfatherism. But in any case, it's for political reasons, which for us is not tenable. We will not support that. But in any case, we saw Fubara again recognizing Wike as his orga. How long will this recognition last before he goes back to trenches again to start saying that all these dances, they are just making noise? Before now, he has called him 2 names. During the peacetime, my orga. During the wartime, noise maker. So the noise maker has now changed to orga. We know very well Fubara is interested in his coming back. He is interested. Anything that will make him to come back, that is what he is interested in. But he has said it many times that Wike will not be an obstacle to his eventual coming back. In any case, he has dissolved his cabinet. I don't know how many members formed that very cabinet. They may not be more than 6 or 7. Even, of course, he has used special advisors to fill the positions of commissioners. Why he did so is very simple. He doesn't need confirmation, House confirmation for special advisors, but he needs House confirmation for commissioners. He knows very well that if he sends any commissioner nominee to the House, they will not confirm him. So he has chosen the other path by using special advisors as commissioners. And what these special advisors do, they work in tandem with the PAM secretaries. And special advisors now do the work of commissioners. And one thing the Constitution guarantees or provides for such appointment, but Constitution is also silent if that is not done. We have said it many times that we have the spirit and the letter part of any law. The spirit is that we shall have it, but situation where that is not the case, what becomes the punishment? The Constitution, the law is silent, so he can decide not to appoint commissioners. And he has decided not to do so because he knows if he sends these commissioners to the House, they will not confirm the commissioners. So he decided to use special advisors. And special advisors, many of them now do the role of commissioners. So he has dissolved all of them. Probably Mr. President has told him, you have to form a cabinet in a way it is done, even if it means bringing weaker allies. But if you bring weaker allies, they will be answerable to Wike. I do not support that. Because if you bring somebody who is loyal to Wike into your cabinet, it becomes a virus. Because he would not respect the governor. He will respect Wike. So I don't know what Mr. President must have told him, but I know whatever he must have told him will be in interest of his re-election and also to ensure there is peace in River State. So I know very well it will not take time. They will go back to their trenches and the organ will now turn to a noisemaker.
Okay, so it seems like football at a point in time got to a point where it was between the DWC and the devil. And perhaps somebody advised him to go and read She Stoops to Conquer, written by Oliver Goldsmith. Perhaps he read that very book and he now chose to go the way of Wike to ensure that whatever is his interest is also protected in River State. We'll go for this very commercial break. After the break, we'll look at what happened to Nasir El-Rufai when he returned to Nigeria from Cairo, where he had been away for some time. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Mama, you done make me fall in love.
Love is in the air, and Stanel Group is bringing it to you live this Valentine's Day.
Stanel Group got you covered for your unforgettable Val Day filled with romance, fun, and excitement.
Join us on Saturday, 14th February 2026, Forever Love Night at Stanel Operator Rest Lounge. Reservation only.
Table for 2 at 100,000 naira for 3-course meal with a glass of wine.
Table for 4 at 180,000 naira for 3-course meal with a glass of wine.
There will be side attractions such as jazz music, live band, saxophonist night, Valentine-themed background.
On Sunday, 15th February 2026, for Igbo cultural music and spoken words of love.
Staniel Fast Food, where you get couples delight and Valentine's perfect combo. Also, Staniel Supermart, where you get his and she's special gifts.
Come with your partner, your friends, or even come solo. Love is better when shared. Come and be part of this most epic love celebration in Oka. For inquiry or reservation, visit Stanel World at Gorka or call 0814 565 6920. Repeat 0814 565 6920.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so it's 10 a.m. and you are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. The program is The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and I'm with Tony Olisambeki, who is on the analysis desk. So let's move over to the next story, which is about what happened to former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, yesterday. Yesterday, he resisted an arrest at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, minutes after he arrived from Cairo, Egypt. And of course, if you go to social media now, you'll see video clips, trending on social media showing El-Rufai telling the security agencies or agents who were on Mufti that he won't follow them to go anywhere. He even said, even if Mr. President gives you an order to bring me, I won't go with you. And we saw how people who were at the airport helped to prevent the EFCC operative from arresting him. And later, there was a statement that came from the camp of El-Rufai. The first one came from his aide, we were at Dekeye, where he explained what happened at Dabra Airport. Later in the evening, a statement was issued by his lawyer, who clarified that while El-Rufai was in a faraway Cairo, Egypt, on holiday and on medical treatment, that he got an invitation from EFCC requesting that he should appear before the commission to answer some questions over financial malfeasance. And El-Rufai wrote to the commission, telling the commission that it was impossible for him to appear the date they gave him because he was outside the country. But the moment he steps into the country, he's going to come to the commission on Monday, February 16 by 10 a.m. to answer any questions that they might have. Only for him to arrive yesterday at the airport, and he was accosted by the EFCC officials. But with the help of people who were there, the arrest was resisted, but they seized his international passport. And he's been speaking, saying, I told you guys that there was an attempt, or rather, I told you guys that there was a plan to arrest me any moment from now because we are being persecuted. So, Tony, back to what he said before. El-Rufai and the likes, are they being persecuted because they've been critically vocal against this very government, or they are required to answer and account for whatever they did while they were in government?
Well, remember El-Rufai worked for the present government. I recall when Tinubu was campaigning, he was one of those that followed him around. If you recall the Chatham House experience, he was given one of the questions thrown to Mr. President to answer. And we know why Mr. President did not appoint him as a minister. And the moment Mr. President dropped his name as a minister, using any means, El-Rufai went BSEC. He went agog. So it's all about his own interest. And I don't pity those who are pitying him at this point. El-Rufai would have done much more worse than what he's facing now. Yes. Remember, he has always been known as someone who makes inflammatory statements. Malam El-Rufai was one of those penciled to speak during the NBA conference. I recall the protestation. The online signatures that were generated to the point that he was prevented from speaking. He's a controversial figure. And there were so many corruption allegations against him. He was said to have misappropriated and diverted over 423 billion in state funds and loans from June 2024. I remember the battle he had with Che Sani many times. They were once together. I recall that very well, that the Kaduna State House of Assembly's ad hoc committee is chaired by the deputy speakers at that time, Henry Magaji Danjuma, probe his 2015 to 2023 tenure. And he was indicted in so many ways, and his key eggs for alleged widespread corruption in contract awards, abuse of office, diversion of public funds, money laundering, irregularities in managing domestic and foreign affairs. He used loans not intended for purposes which they were meant for. He inflated contracts, allegedly. Financial opacity. I recall that the House even recommended referral to EFCC and ICPC for prosecution. I could also remember that Kaduna citizens, I think there is a group called Kaduna Citizens Watch for Good Governance, last 2 years, urged government to arrest El-Rufai over the indictment of misappropriation of about 423 billion. I recall EFCC set up a team to investigate him, but he said, if you want to arrest me, send me an invitation. What goes around comes around. That is the only message I have for El-Rufai and even Malami. What goes around comes around. When he was in power, he was speaking like an emperor. Yes, he was speaking like an emperor. Have you forgotten when during an interview with the Nigerian Television Authority ahead of 2019 general election, and he said, and I quote, "Those that are calling for anyone to come and intervene in Nigeria, we are waiting for the person that would come and intervene. They would go back in body bags, because nobody will come to Nigeria and tell us how to run our country." He was very close to President Muhammad Buhari. That was out. And if you could recall, he made a statement. There was a time he made a statement. He said that anybody who killed a Fulani man, or if I can recall how he said it, that will write this for anyone to read. Anyone, soldier or not, that kills the Fulani takes a loan, repairable one day, no matter how long it takes. That's El-Rufai. He made this very statement sometime around July 15, 2012, even before he became the governor of Kaduna State. You know, when Jonathan was in power, El-Rufai was making different inflammatory statements. You know, Jonathan couldn't have done anything, but now Tinubu is saying, you can't do this. Well, we know very well that EFCC can also arrest even without invitation, formal invitation. They can arrest with invitation, they can also arrest without invitation. So I'm not pitying El-Rufai for any reason, not because he's not the only one in opposition.
So do you think that the government is picking on him because he's been vocal against the government, or they chose to remember him at this point?
There is this saying that people in the glass house should not throw stone. There are those who have been more critical about governments of the day, but they have no skeleton in their cupboards. But when you have skeleton in your cupboard and throw shade or throw stone at the government, your own book will be opened. The same government that have power will open your own book. You were the one, State House of Assembly, during their probe. In fact, they brought material evidence that inflated contract. The money he said he paid some people from Mali, church or whatever, I don't know. You know, recall he was a dramatic person when he was governor. There was a time he did say that he paid all these people from Mali, from Libya, from Niger, that they were doing a number of things in Kaduna State. He paid them off. So this is a day of reckoning for El-Rufai. It could be a way nature plan to teach him some lessons. Power is transient. Power is ephemeral. Power does not last forever. If El-Rufai were to be in power, look at El-Rufai. The same man, recall the battle he had with Peter. Look at how dirty politics is. Recall when Jonathan was in power during Anambra State gubernatorial election. He came to Oka. He was put under, would I say, not house arrest, because he was in a hotel, but he was asked not to leave that hotel.
Yeah, he was restricted.
He was restricted because he was told that he had no business being in Anambra State during election day. He had come to support the candidate of ACN as at that time. But the truth remains that P2B now used the connection, the connectivity he had with Jonathan there, because P2B was literally with Jonathan. So they now find a way to restrict his movement. And later on, he said unprintable things about P2B. He called him a tribalistic person. He called him a religious bigot. He called him all manner of things. He discredited him. He picked at him. Now, what is going on? We saw him and P2B the other day. They have become friends because of interest Interest can make two politicians to become enemies.
No,
interest can also make two politicians to become friends, as we have seen.
Let's look at what happened that very yesterday. If you look at the actions of the EFCC operative, being that El-Rufai confirmed that he got an invitation to appear before the commission, and he gave them a date and time when he's going to appear. That should be in morning next week. And then at the point of his entry, there was an attempt to arrest him. Do you think that the security agencies or the security agents were being overzealous and abusive of procedure?
Well, probably he has been on the watch list for one reason or the other. But just like I said earlier on, people in the glass house should not throw stone, because if you do, your own books will be opened. I'm not saying that is justifiable. I'm not saying it is right. But I'm saying that if you have baggages, you should respect yourself. If you have baggages, because by the time the government in power leaves office, some of them that have baggages will be remembered. When Malami was doing his own thing, he thought that power would remain forever. And when he was going through his ordeal, did anybody remember him? People were saying he should go and face whatever he's facing. Why can't same be said to El-Rufai? Can you tell me the difference between El-Rufai and Malami? Both of them have joined ADC, no doubt. But people have resentment about things Malami did. He allegedly committed atrocious acts. He abused offices. Look at what he has acquired. El-Rufai dealt with the people of Kaduna South very well. He decimated them politically, put them where they wouldn't want to be. There were killings during some time, even despite the billions he paid in ransom, and he paid to, I don't know whether to call those people he paid those money his brothers. But they never ceased, because he empowered them, he emboldened them, he equipped them with the monies he was actually giving them. And the person we know that have made different inflammatory statements. These things are everywhere for anyone to see. Before now, there are many people that would have said, if it was during the time of Buhari, by now he would have been in any of the, I think for the time he spent in Kaduna State and all the things we've seen, he has not been arraigned. The contract inflations and even some loans, he was busy taking loans. And that was what Shehu Sani was fighting as a senator. And he ensured that he did not return back to the Senate. And also, I don't know if he replaced him with Obasani, who is no more his friend as we speak today. See, the thing is, there is always a day of reckoning. How it comes, it might not really be justifiable, but there will always be a day of reckoning. And I think that's what he's facing.
So you're saying he should carry his cross?
He should carry his cross.
And should not look for any Simon of Syria?
No, he should not. There will never be Simon of Syria. No. He should carry his cross. He would have done worse than this. He would have done worse than this. The Malam we know, he would have done more than this. You can imagine somebody that the Nigerian Bar Association, like I said earlier on, penciled him as one of the keynote speakers. But there was protestation everywhere. People never wanted to hear from him. Okay. If Ahmed Lawan had succeeded President Buhari, by now he would be the Nebuchadnezzar of a particular empire. So let me not just speak more of all this. He should carry his cross and just see what is coming to him as a lesson, that while in power, at least be circumspect in everything. Be circumspect in everything. Why? Because you are going to leave power one day.
Okay, so let's look at what happened yesterday between INEC and Senate Committee, where INEC presented a budget that they intend to use to conduct 2027 general election, a budget of 873 billion naira, and that is going to take care of the 2027 general election. Aside that, the INEC chairman also clarified that this very 873 billion naira is quite different from what INEC needs as a budget for 2026 fiscal year. And in that 2026 fiscal year, apart from the administrative costs and what have you, not the overhead, they're also going to cover by-elections and off-cycle elections in 2026. Now, he made this very presentation yesterday before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Electoral Matters. So, Tony, let's look at this very figure. He said 873 billion for 2027 general election, and Nigerians are trying to think forward, and they're asking questions. So, if we're going to invest this huge amount of money in conducting an election in 2027, at the end of the day, it turns out to be a sham. It will have been a colossal waste. And that's why they are saying National Assembly should do everything humanly possible to ensure that they get to fortify the Electoral Act so that we can have some safeguard going into election of 2027. Our election, very capital intensive. It is everywhere in the world, but in our own case, do you think it's too much?
Remember, just like you said, but we must make it very clear, the amount for conduct of 2027 general election, they put it at 873.77 billion. That's the amount. Then if you add their 2026 routine budget, which is about 171 billion, it will give you approximately 1.something trillion naira. So you are asking for your routine budget proposal for your operations, which is 171 billion. If you add it to what it would cost for the conduct of the 2027 general election, it will take the figure to 1.something trillion. So I don't want to break it down because it's the same body. I don't see why you ask for 171 billion for your operational use, and at the same time you are going to ask for another 873.778 billion for the conduct of election. But if you look at the breakdown, I was actually amazed. Are they going to buy new beavers? Because if you look at the breakdown, personnel cost, they gave us overhead cost, and they also gave us election-related activities. That's for their routine operational budget for 2026. That personnel cost, salaries and allowances will cost 109 billion. Remember, we are not talking about ad hoc staff, those who conduct these elections. We are talking about INEC staff. How many of these staff do we have that will require 109 billion in form of salaries and allowances? For me, that amount is too much. Overhead cost, 18.7 billion. Are they going to buy computers? Are they going to buy vehicles? Are they going to build any infrastructure? Are they going to tie roads? They must break this overhead cost, because I don't see INEC buying some of these things we are looking at for. What would that 18.7 billion use for? But they also look at election-related activities. I know registration, continuous voter registration, training, retraining. They put it at 42.63 billion. No doubt, give it to them for continuous voters exercise, training, retraining, and oryx, champagne. They can also add champagne. They can also add traveling, junketing, leisure. They can add it.
Tony, now that you mentioned this, there's something I would like you to listen to, because at that very budget defense yesterday, Oshomole pointed out something in the budget, and where he asked INEC, do you have special disease? So let's get to listen to this so that you'll be able to know where we are coming from.
To go to Abuja for treatment, I do not think, with profound respect, that INEC need hospital, private hospital. I mean, the INEC hospital too in Abuja. You have offices in the 36 states. You mean if INEC officer in Benin is sick, he has to come to Abuja for treatment? Why do you have to have your INEC hospital? Do you have INEC special disease? I don't think so. Because this is an area we can avoid, so that you focus on your core mandate. Your core mandate is not medicine. It's not health care. That is the mandate of the Ministry of Health. And if INEC people in Abuja needs quality health care, and you think you are not getting it, We talked to the Minister of Health, but honestly, sir, INEC has to be restricted to its core mandate, namely to conduct free, fair, credible election, not to be running hospitals. You don't have that competence. If INEC man has a prostate problem, you are going to have because you have a lot of men who are in their 60s and 50s. Are you going to create a urologist? If you have if INEC child has a problem, you are going to have a pediatric doctor. I think these are things. This is goal displacement. With due respect, under your leadership, let INEC return to its core mandate and not go into the issues of healthcare facility, running to hospitals. The man sitting next to me is from Akwa Ibom. He's going to travel from Uyo to Abuja. If INEC president has this, even those in Lagos, you are going to fly from Lagos to Abuja for treatment. Abba. Prof, these are the avoidable ways which you can deal with. I'm talking of general term now. You didn't start it, but if your professor started it, you can terminate it and rechannel the resources to where you need the most. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so Tony, you heard that INEC is asking for a special hospital in the budget, and the Oshomole is saying, is it necessary? So Tony?
Well, if you look at it, just like I was saying before now, that are they going to build infrastructure? Are they going to tie roads? Are they going to do this? And if you look at what Oshomole was responding to, where they had positioned to build 2 healthcare facilities in Abuja for their staff. So you ask, are the INEC staff different from ordinary Nigerians? So they will be treated differently because they were recruited or they were appointed or they were employed to work for INEC? Is anomaly for me. And I've seen that INEC has a staff capacity of about 15,000. 15,000. And look at amount for their salaries and allowances in 1 year. I said it earlier on about how many billion? About 109 billion. That's very, for me, absurdity, a great absurdity. But I know they see Nigeria as where you can put everything and then get the money. But for goodness sake, I know that the National Assembly has so much work to do. How can budgets for election conduct in 2023 cost 313.4 billion, where beavers, many of them were bought? In fact, the cost of buying these beavers in last election was over 100 and something billion. That's the cost of buying these beavers. I'm asking, are we going to discard these beavers and buy a new one? Or are we going to use these ones used in 2023, probably add few ones? I didn't see why the election will require 807 something billion. I didn't see, because unless we are going to discard all the equipments, even the technology, everything, and at the end of the day, such amount was spent and they reported glitches. We know what happened anyway. But for me, I have said it many times, that INEC has not shown that service. If they have shown capacity, and if they require some of these things, we will say, well, they have been trying, they have done this, they have done that. Why not give it to them? But I know very well. I think the only thing I'm going to take from the budget defense yesterday was the fact that the INEC chairman said that transmitting electronically is very feasible, that nobody should just worry about that. But outside that, if you look at some of the figures that they have put forward, look at the election breakdown for 2027. Operational cost 379.748 billion. That's for operational costs like logistics, materials, polling, collations. I don't know who they're going to give the contract. Whoever they give this contract, the person will be in money. You also talk about administrative costs like staff management for election and everything, 92.317 billion. If you talk about technological cost, beavers upgrade. They didn't say they will buy new beavers. So they say beavers upgrade. IREF enhancement. They are not buying new one. The cost is 209.206 billion naira. We are new one cost 100 and something billion. Then upgrade is costing more than what that costs, because we know the difference in time. We are talking about 2022 and we are talking about 2026, difference of 4 years.
No.
So we understand the difference in time. And if you look at miscellaneous expenses that the expenses not captured, the one unforeseen, the one we may not know whether it will come or not, they target 42.60 billion. If there is no much of such miscellaneous, as they put it, miscellaneous expenses, unforeseen, but they may come or they may not, why did they put it 42 point something billion?
Okay, and the question, because I think INEC was in the eye of the storm recently, where they said monies that we allocated to INEC we are not accounted for. That should be about either a month or 2 months ago. So the issue is issue of accountability. If you get this very money, are we going to get value for money? At the end of the day, if the money is not spent entirely, would you be able to account on how the money was spent? So we'll go for this very commercial break. What's in return? We pick on another thing before we open the phone lines for you. Stay with us.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa chicken they do yellow. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, chicken and do. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread, and in town. Wendy's bread, you get it better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806-416-2374 or 0706-059-6203.
CCRN Fegi Zone Estate General Meeting. Our first general meeting of the year 2026 between the Catholic Charismatic Renewal in Nigeria, CCRN Fegi Zone Estate Team, and the members of their two estates in Umweri and Nsugbe. We hold a meeting on Sunday, 15th February 2026 at Immaculate Heart Parish Fegi by 1 p.m. Agendas includes final arrangements for the speedy plotting and picking of Nsugbe phase and of Umweri phase 2, etc. You are advised to inform others. We wish you a happy and pleasant new year full of prosperity to enable us build houses and live together peacefully in our estates, now and always, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Note, some plots are available for sale. For more information, please call 080-6299-3380. Announcer, CCRN Fegi Zone Land Committee.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Of course, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. My name is Franklin Ibukand, and we are getting closer to open the phone lines to you. Tony Lisambeki is here on the analysis desk. We'll quickly binge on an issue that has been between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose. I mentioned that Babangida, I mentioned that Atiku around Monday paid a visit to Babangida in Mina, Niger State. That same day, he paid a visit. Also, Governor of your state, Sheyi Makinde, also paid a visit to Babangida that same day. Atiku was the first to arrive and went into a closed-door meeting with Babangida before Makinde arrived later. Then after that very meeting, we saw Fayose, going on to make some allegations about what happened. Now, if we are going to put a time frame to the time Atiku arrived, we got reported that Atiku arrived Bangida's residence around 1 p.m. and went into a closed-door meeting with him. The Makinde joined at about 2:10 p.m. That same day. But Fayose has said that meeting was carefully planned, where Sheyi Makinde, Atiku, and Babangida sat, and the negotiations were made on how power could be advanced. But Atiku is saying that he only went there to see how ADC can be strengthened in Niger State. Now look at the point that Fayose is saying. Fayose is saying that during that very meeting, that Makinde demanded ADC vice presidential ticket, which should be part of conditions for him to join the party. And he also said that Makinde promised that he's going to bring some money for takeoff of the ADC activities, about 10 billion, and he's going to release more, in future if eventually he gets what he wanted. And he also promised to deliver the Southwest delegate, and he used his wife's influence to secure vote in the South. But Atiku has said that all those things were tales of the Biapalo, that nothing like that happened. So if you look at the two sides of it, it appears as if that Fayose is trying to push more on their fight against Atiku. Of course, we know the role he played when they were in the G5, in the PDP, him, Miki and Co, Makinde and what have you not. But now they have fallen apart, and it seems like they are now fighting on all cylinders. Do you think we should disregard what Fayose said? Perhaps it could be a propaganda to create a bad perception of Makinde and Atiku, or we should pay heed to what he said?
Well, why would you pay heed to what Fayose is saying? Fayose is just like a messenger of Wike. So he's working with Wike. He's Wike's ally. And their co-mission is to torment Atiku. And probably they are doing that. That is politics for you. So he's entitled to say whatever he wants to say about Atiku's visit to Babangida. And you ask, why would Atiku so visit Babangida? Someone would say, oh, is Babangida not his brother? Are we still having the kingmaker structure we used to have before now? We've seen politicians always going to Mina. You ask this question, what for? We saw P2B, he went to Mina. Atiku went to Mina. And most of these contestants, I didn't even know whether Tinubu went to Mina. It could be that there was a time he also went to Mina. And the man they have been meeting was one head of state. Of course, we know he has influence. In where? There are some that say his influence is mostly within the northern blocks or even in the military. There are those you can call on phone and talk to. They will bow to whatever you may have brought before them. Who are these people? I don't know if he has become the man of Mecca, or his house has turned into Mecca of sorts. Well, Atiku said he has, he said he had gone there to strengthen ADC in Mina. So, somebody who is no more into party politics, because the last I checked, Babangida is no more into partisan politics. So, he'll be the one that will strengthen the ADC. He hasn't told us why he went there. He hasn't told us. He didn't go there to strengthen whatever he wants to be strengthened in Niger State. He has a reason for going there. So, Fayose have always discountenanced whatever statements he usually make. Sometimes his statements are becoming childish. But the good thing is, I don't see why these politicians should be visiting Mina so at this age, at this time.
Perhaps we need to probe deeper, because in 2022, Tinubu also visited him.
That's what I'm saying.
Before the election, and he said he went to
all of them. No, all of them. All of them. In fact, there were those that went twice. All the politicians visited him. And I recall IBB memo, that book. he published, they were all there. Even the president was there. It was in that book, he did say something about the January 1966 kill. That it was never an Igbo affair. It was in that his book. So, that is by the way. The concern is, these people are making effort to see how to take power. Power is so sweet. And I've said it many times, anybody who is Nigerian president is the most powerful democratically elected president in the world, because the constitution provides that he sits over 66 items. It was 68 before now, but now it's about 66 items. He sits over those things. In River State, I was hearing about federal certificate of occupancy. There is nothing you know here in this country. Federal certificate, because you know that the state that gives certificate of occupancy in line with Land Use Act of 1978. But in all of this, I've said it many times. Fayoche can say whatever he wants to say. Atiku must tell us, or he has to. If he doesn't want to tell us, no problem. He should also return it. But the reasons he has adduced, they are not tenable. That's the truth. I don't know. Probably he's trying to see if he can use Babangida to galvanize Northern's blocks, some big Northern stakeholders to back his ambition. That could be the reason.
All right. Let's go to the phone lines now. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Get across to us. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, Dirigala.
You're welcome.
You know what? They are admin on how to cut our country to pieces and sell it. Pure and simple. My name is Odeze. They are not doing anything. Whether they are going to Babangida, Maradona, to plead on which block is going to belong to. Pure and simple. They are not going there for the love of Babangida or for the love of Nigeria, but for the love of how they are going to share Nigeria. And I'm sure the other group are also there running up and down for the love of how they are going to share Nigeria. The what they forget is that power is transient. Yes, nothing lasts forever. You can never want to belong to be a leader for life. Even Mr. Tinubu himself, no matter how much he tries, I know he's working very hard. I'm sure the papa is sweating like no man's business. If he's not busy getting awards from the Queen of England and the King of England, he's somewhere also to get more laurels. Like it looks like he wants to go around the whole world and get as many laurels as possible. Otherwise, I don't know what is gallivanting all over the place, getting recognition and whatever. Like going to England is not a big deal for people like us, ordinary Nigerians. So we got to allow them and make sure we begin to set our own set of people to go and get ready for the next election. The next election is going to be a make or mar election for Nigeria. We must wake up. The Senate and the House have done their bit. And yet we've not come out with any results so far. And we are still watching them. They are still planning on how to cut off this country, to share this cake. When the cake has papuka, when somebody will come up and bake a new cake for us, let them continue. Nigeria will survive, no matter. So let's keep working. You guys keep working at it. Don't lose hope.
All right,
they
thank you.
will never blindfold us. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my wonderful people.
Good morning, Union.
My name is Honorable Odisi, and I'm calling from Tere.
Okay, go on.
First of all, I must say a wonderful, happy World Radio Day to Udala FM broadcasters. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. So you said you don't know why they are going to them. There are the type of politics we play down here. And it's also different from the politics they play over there in the north. I live in the north, and I can tell you for sure that over there in the north, they play politics of did I call it or who, just like as we are now, the If people of tomorrow live so much in you, anywhere you tell them to go, that's where they will go. Some of them don't even have it. So those that believe in Babangida, whoever that Babangida is supporting is where they will support. And that's by the way. Adam to go to I thought that man, look at not be fast. NSA from the way they normally put questions that here to those people that normally come to defend their budget or whatever proposal they bring to the nation. And so it gives me joy, even though I also do have what must be, and Nigeria will be. The way he puts the look at the paper he asked the INEC man, is there any INEC disease? Why the INEC hospital? What for? What is this for? Maybe the man should come back and answer us, tell us if there's an INEC disease that will make them to have INEC hospital. What has INEC to do with the election? Thank you, and God bless the Udala.
Okay, thank you for joining. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Good morning.
And Tony Samboki, good morning to you.
You're welcome.
My name is Mario Ketu, calling from Monica.
Good, Mario.
Just like what I told you before on this platform, Fubara is a madam. So no matter how anybody is saying it, this is just a husband and wife having a little issue. So don't put yourself inside their matter, because finally, it will go back to your land on top of your head. So Fubara is married to Isomike. So whether he's jumping up and down, tomorrow he will still go back to his husband. So he's a madam. Don't expect anything wrong from him. Then on the side of INEC, oh my God, I'm just laughing after you finish playing that documentary. I don't know. INEC is demanding for hospital. What kind of nonsense country are we? Yeah? INEC, what are they using hospital for? Is it part of the thing that will give us good and good results? We are talking about electronically transmission of results. And the people are supposed to come out to give people hope that they can do it. They are the people that are supposed to remove fear from some Nigerians who are having double mind. These people are keeping quiet. And they are writing that they are putting a hospital in their budget. No, very soon they will demand for aeroplane. And they should be issued guns. That is somehow. Because when I saw this budget 800, I was shocked. When Mahmoud Yaku introduced the VIVAS, I think the budget is around 300 something billion. Now, his own, upon we have gotten all those equipment, and his own is almost times 3 of what this man has given. It's uncalled for. That is the kind of people we parade as our leaders. Well,
okay.
Well, we are just watching them.
All right.
We know that they are onto something. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We should also take note too that Naira has depreciated anyway over time. Hello. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. My name is George, calling from Masaba.
Go on, George.
Let me take on the issue of Aerofy. Let us cross the space. Let Aerofy be the worst person on this earth. But at the same time, you ask the question what the EFCC did or the DSS did, does it the right thing to it? It's not the right thing. See, you cannot be in a corridor of power and starting fighting your political enemies with our taxpayer money. It's very, very wrong. This EFCC, there are people that will say that yes, they are doing the right thing. What about the life of Wike? Some studied the project that they said that they did at River State in the last administration. So many government, because you can't tell me that Wike is still in power. It's no more in power. So why out to your political enemy? See, for me, anytime that Nigerian government are fighting a corrupt politician with a wrong approach, I will always kick against it. Because I still believe that they have some corrupt political men and women. You see the cabinet, God, I think that is not with you anymore. And it's our president need to look very well. See, if we need to look, this is the same man that you went to London with.
Give me the question to answer. What now went wrong overnight? Against you and Aerofire that you are not doing everything to bring in that. What I will say that they will still come. Other people will still be in power and try to bring those other people that enjoy it now. And Nigeria can continue that way. Nigeria can never continue that way that if you reach our turn, we will do bad. If you reach our turn, do. Why are we like this? The court person to court. Let EFCC do the right thing. What the media that they started doing the right thing, Nigeria will support them. Aerofire is not the best man. He's not the best politician that someone like me will understand. But at the same time, let them try to start doing the right thing. That is what the place I come for. What's the point in the airport? Why can't you wait till the day that he said that he's going to appear in your office and do whatever he's going to do with it? The same thing that they did with the ex-governor of Anambra State. Where to come out today? So what are we talking about? So let us stop for these things. Nigeria, we need to go above the present situation that we find ourselves in this country. If you want to fight corruption, don't fight the enemy with our taxpayer money. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, George, for calling. Let's see who we have here. Okay. Hello, good morning. Okay, try again. Don't forget you can as well go to our Facebook page and drop your comment there. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, your name?
Yeah, this is Uche from Ella.
Uche, go on.
How my brother things happen in this country. The way today was analyzed, I was analyzing the money or giving figures from the INEC budget. To be frank, somebody might even have BP in this country. Do you know that there are people in this country that money to feed even once a day? How God that means 118 billion for only salaries. Which is each staff there they are being paid of more than 2 million naira or 5 million naira in a month. Hey, where are we heading to? It was in this country that a woman bought a gogo more than which a lot of money, more than 14 million or whatever naira. I don't know what about. This country is snakes for the money. This country monkeys for the money. This country grass was collected with a lot of money. This country a better loot that was recovered. Nobody knows where it went to. In this country, somebody can loot money and after join the government in power, and he says we will be forgiven. And the masses are.
Okay, thank you, Che. I think you also made your point. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning. Analyst
You're welcome.
A lot of interesting issues this morning. Let me quickly take on Fubara and Wike reconciliation and no love lost in between them. I want to state that the president, who is a major player in this Wike Fubara saga, is rolling his dice well as he knows how to. Because, take it or leave it, he knows that Yeson Wike is an indispensable player in reverse politics, like him or hate him. And there is no way the president will try to lose him as he looks forward to the 2027 general election. And also, he has been strategizing so as to get the three most strategic states in election winning victory in Nigeria. And the three states are Lagos, Kano, and River State. And for him, and he has strategically gained Kano now by converting the governor. And the River State, he will not want to lose it. And because of the political value that we hold to him, he will always try to stand by him so that he will not lose out entirely. So what I'm seeing there, he is trying to maintain the two players, which is Fubara, who is on the side of the people, and Wike, who holds the the political stronghold for now, for today, in River State. So the House of Assembly members has gone to sleep now because of the order of the president arresting their impeachment moves. And the school order has been told
All right.
do not delegate your guy, which he has admitted now. And all they say is in the state for the president. And we don't want Fubara to return in the second tenure. And also, he will not want him to complete his tenure. So,
right. Thank
the
you.
president will give his options to give a soft landing for Fubara to complete his tenure, so that he will gain the goodwill of the people of River State, so as to vote for APC, even the governorship, and then it will reflect in the presidential. So show us to win the goodwill of the River State people. Then, as for
Okay.
right-hand man,
My dear friend, we have to end it here.
Election. So he's rolling the dice.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We have to end it here because we need to accommodate other things we have. We have some reactions from our Facebook page, which we need to acknowledge. So please bear with us that we have to go now so that so let's go to our Facebook page now and see some reactions we have there. There is this very post by Rinze Bartholomew from Inoma. He said, I want to celebrate Chisum and other radio practitioners as we celebrate World Radio Day today. However, radio practitioners should do better to remain relevant. In this age of AI, we may want to downplay the effects of AI in our time, but I tell you, AI is more factual, timely, and accurate in dissemination of information, in particular with regulations on the professional ethics that makes most radio presenters as free singers of any government in power. El Rufai and his boys have proven that some people are untouchable and above government. The Easterners should learn politics from their northern colleagues. Communion Okeke says the two sectors that have been terrorizing this country in terms of corruption and embezzlement, and he mentioned judiciary and Iraq. And he says, I'm sick and tired of our politicians, the way they keep on embezzling our money. At the end of the day, nothing will be done. And he says, Erufai Malam Yemefele, we have not heard about them because the system of our government and politicians are corrupt. And he says, 735 bungalows that were recovered from Emefele by the federal government, we have not heard anything about it. Okay. Dr. Misinimo Olebara from Owerri says corruption is flourishing in Nigeria because we don't abide by the rule of law and fear of God. How can we be fighting corruption and keep recycling people who are corrupt in positions of authority? We have become so corrupt in Nigeria that we have come to see this as no crime at all. The pertinent question now is who will fight this crime of corruption? This is a billion-dollar question because those who we think are equal to the task are viewing it as a lip service and decorative language. Okay. Anthony Mera, thank you for joining. Also, Francis Omaga Namani from Enugu State. Okay. He says, for Nigeria to be better again, all hands must be on deck. Okoya Angoleka, thank you for watching from Umoji. Ugochukwu Frank says politics in Nigeria is like a season finale. Nobody sees it coming. But beyond the headlines, the real question is this: how does this affect governance and the everyday river citizen? Are we about to see better alignment and performance, or more tension behind the scenes? Sometimes a shake-up can reset things. Other times it opens a new chapter of drama. Mr. Celestine says, who is saying that America will collect his own share of national cake? Who is to be blamed? I tell you that it doesn't matter what we say or what we do here. At the end of the day, money will be approved for them. After all, he has the backing of Mr. President, who appointed him. And Francis Momaga, okay, he adds that Fubara dissolving his commissioners or cabinet is a work on development. Let him use his veto power to restore peace and tranquility to the state. Wike should focus on ministerial job and allow peace to reign in River State. And also, this very one is from Ugochukwu Frank, finally, he says, first of all, no citizen is above the law. Even presidents are arrested to answer for any crime committed while in office. If investigation reveals that El-Rufai is involved in subversive activities to undermine either the administration or the country, he can be arrested and heaven will not fall. But otherwise, it will be power show and intimidation. So, Tony, we get to wrap up the conversation. Of course, you have heard people, their contributions from different angles, and of course, the post we had on our Facebook page. So, how do you articulate?
One thing is justice. One thing I understand about our people is because when somebody, we know very well our institutions, they don't fight corruption. Most times they fight political enemies. But those who were once in power, we would want them to account for their time in power. Not because they have changed party. So it doesn't mean that if you change party, you cannot be accountable for your time in power. And for those who also are still in that ruling party, it should be expanded to everybody alike. El-Rufai had thought that by now some of the past governors, they would have been arraigned. And I said it here that the Kaduna State House of Assembly probed him and discovered that he misappropriated about 423 billion for now, and also made referral to EFCC and ICPC for him to be arraigned and prosecuted. That has not been done. Why? Even before he joined ADC. Some people having sympathy for him now could be because he's in ADC. Yes. But there was a report on him that he should be arraigned and prosecuted. The State House of Assembly did it. And even Ganduje. Remember, I was one of those that said, why was Malam Ganduje? Why was he not also arraigned and prosecuted? Even Kano State House of Assembly did the same thing. Found him to have misappropriated the funds. He was not. So would I now sit down because they did not do Ganduje, so they should not also do El-Rufai? Is that how we operate? Why they go for El-Rufai, they should also go for Ganduje and other people alike. Anywhere they want to start, but the most important thing, everybody should be involved. That is how to go. Yes, whatever he has said or done politically should be seen within the political spectrum. And those who are in power today, by the time they leave power, look at Emefiele. If Emefiele had joined ADC now, there are some people that will still have sympathy for him. It's not about party. The most important thing, institutions must work, and they should show that work by being non-partisan. But that we don't have. We don't have them being non-partisan because we've seen how they work, and that's why many Nigerians don't have confidence and trust in them.
Okay. We hope that one day, of course, we'll be able to find our footing and be able to put things right. If not, it's been a long time we've been in this very desert, and we're hoping that one day we'll be able to find a way to make the desert habitable. Thank you, Tony, and thank you to everyone who listened and joined this very conversation. Of course, the Polity is going to return by next week, Monday, but tomorrow our programs are going to continue. Once we leave this very studio, we're going to bring you good tunes by 11 a.m. and then by 12 is going to be news at noon before Cherry Box comes at 12:30, and then other programs will follow suit. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Good morning and happy World Radio Day.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
I'm not